Okay. Hey guys, so this week what we're going to be making is a cute little teapot. So go ahead and open up a new scene just like I have here, and then we're going to be adding in a reference into our front view. So go ahead and click space and go to that view. Click on view, image plane, import image, and then go ahead and choose whatever reference you're going to be using. This is the one I'm going to be using. I just found it on Google really easily, just looking up like teapot outline. But whatever you feel is the best representation of the teapot you're going for. So go ahead over on the right in your attribute editor, click on looking through camera, and then you can reduce the color gain just so it's not so heavy on the eyes. And then go ahead and create a cylinder. So you can move this to the ground by moving Y to 1. And then we're going to be going into vertex mode, selecting those vertices, and then click R and hold Control and scale on this top axis. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the width of the bottom for the bottom guys, so probably about there. And then click W, select this top row, and then move it up to the edge. And then you can scale that one up, holding Control again until it reaches however wide that top is. I'm gonna move my reference over a little bit because I feel like it's not centered. All right. Now, go ahead and get your multi-cut tool. I'm doing this by holding shift, holding right click, and then just going over to multi-cut, and then hold Control and middle click so that it does halfway cuts. I'm gonna do, I don't know, like 8 of them, however many that was. Go back into vertex mode, click Q, and select these vertices, click R, and just scale them up so that they are fitting a reference. And you'll do that with basically every row. So as you can see, the change is a little more gradual on the top than it is on the bottom. That's totally okay. Just try and make it as close to your silhouette as possible. I'm gonna move my silhouette over a smidge. There we go. Okay, and then once you've got all of those guys, we'll deal with that handle probably. I think that one should be easy if it works correctly. We're going to be using the bridge tool for that, but sometimes the bridge tool kind of hates me. So we'll see if it works. And if not, who knows what we'll do. All right. For this edge, go ahead and go into wireframe mode. It's this button up here. You see how it dips in and then it has like a little part at the bottom? How we're going to create that is we're going to add another multi-cut. So go to your multi-cut tool, click Control, middle cut, and then click Q, and you're going to scale this to be however wide that is, and then click W and push it down a little bit so it should be like right there-ish. And then this will be our little like loop at the end. So you can scale that one up just a smidge, just so it's a little more even. I'm probably gonna do like that. And then you can push W and push it up to whatever thickness you want. So it'll end up looking more like that. All right, sweet. Okay, so go ahead and go into perspective view. Go ahead and go into this view. Click on your sphere in the front view and then go to face mode and then click Q and hold tab and just select whatever face connects to that handle. What we need to have, I believe, is equal number of faces. So just do 1, offset it in like 0.15, and then click those faces again and do apply bridge. As you can see, it's going the wrong direction, so just switch it to positives, and then you should be able to get a cute little handle. All right, so it looks a little weird, especially when we look at our mesh. It doesn't quite match up. So go into wireframe mode. You can close your bridge option box. Go ahead, go into object mode, and then click on wireframe mode. As you can see, in our bridge, we've got a cute little curve going through the middle of it. That basically controls the curvature of our handle. So if you right-click on that line specifically, and then click on Control Vertex, we can actually adjust these little yellow points that control it and move them and kind of change how our handle's going to look. So yeah, you can just kind of play with it. I'm gonna make mine like that, and then let's edit this point a little bit. I'm going to strongly caution you against moving the origin points, this guy and this guy. Those guys actually control the twist of your handle, so you want to be really careful not to change those, because then they'll make your handle look a little weird. But yeah, I'm thinking that's pretty cute. It looks good, especially when you press 3. Matches my mesh pretty well, so we'll leave it like that. The next thing that we do want to go ahead and tackle is this. As you know, teapots are hollow because they have to hold water or liquid. So select those top faces, going into face mode, clicking Q, holding tab, and selecting all of them. Go ahead and delete the top faces. Then you're going to go into object mode. And I think what I can do now is just reverse the mesh, go into object mode and extrude. After you've reversed it, hold control and then press your thickness in to like 0.25 or so. Okay, so the only error I'm seeing is this guy right here. I'm thinking that I can most likely just delete these faces and it won't edit my mesh any more than it has to. Let's see what that looks like on the inside. Yeah. Doesn't look like it's changing anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. Same with these little guys. And this guy. Okay. Pretty sure that's all good. As you can see in here, it's open. So what we're going to use is the append to polygon tool. That is in mesh tools, click append to polygon. And then we'll just click these edges and close it up. If you watched my tutorial on the hammer, you'll see me using this tool as well. It's really, really useful. So it's not exactly like the most uniform way of doing something, but it can be really useful when you're running into just random situations that it's like, it doesn't really matter what it looks like, but it should be, you know, closed. All right, sweet. So we go ahead and fix that up so that it's all one. The only thing that I'm concerned about is when I press 3, it's going to do something a little weird. So click edge and delete these extra random edges if you can. Sometimes it doesn't always let you. You might have to delete their vertex first. Yeah. And then I'm just going to go ahead and delete this inside guy if I can. You can delete those edges too, most likely. So just keep switching between like vertex and edge mode. That way you get like one smooth polygon. In order to get rid of this issue as well, when we press 3, we can just smooth the pot instead of using subdivision surfaces. Either one works. We're just going to have to maybe smooth it a couple of times so that it looks good. All right, that looks like it's just the curvature of the thing. So I think, yeah, it is. All right, so that's totally fine. All right, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is go through and bevel these edges just so that they look smooth when we do decide to smooth out our object. So just select your edges in edge mode and Control B for beveling. And then what we can do is just do like 2 segments as per usual. And I'll probably give mine a pretty big fraction, since I like the teapot to have kind of like a little lip. And then let's also do the bottom down here. This one I'm going to make a bit smaller of a fraction so that it looks a bit more tight. Yeah. All right, and then if you want, you can bevel these edges just around kind of the ground plane of your handle, just to give it some dimension. Do 2 segments as always. I'm gonna leave my fraction that's that big because it looks good. I might make it a little bit smaller, especially down here. You can see if the fraction gets too big, it actually intersects with that face. So I would just go as small as it is to not intersect with that face, and then you'll be fine. All right, so next thing that we need to do is go ahead and create the little spout. So this is a little bit harder because I think what I want to do is actually model it as a completely separate object and then bridge those objects together. If you couldn't guess, what we're going to be doing is creating another cylinder. And then you can move it to the ground using Y to 1. And then click W and you can push it over to intersect with this guy. So something completely different is going to actually need to happen to our cylinder. It's going to be a little weird. We're actually going to rotate it 90 degrees on our x-axis. That way the faces are facing towards our pot instead of towards the ground. And then next thing that we need to do is go into perspective view. You can push this away a little bit. We're going to need to select these faces. Make sure you got them all. All right, sweet. And then you can look in this view, click W, click R, and I'm just going to scale them up using the center point, but you want to scale them to be whatever size it is over here. Okay, looks good. And then what we need to do is go into perspective mode again, click face, click over here in the distance so that you don't select the back faces, click Q, and hold tab and select those guys. Next, in this view, make sure your mouse is hovering over it, click W, and then push it up to go up here, and then you're actually going to click E, and then you're going to rotate them, and then click R, and just scale on that middle axis. And then you can push W and push them up and over to match more kind of with that guy. All right, so now I know what you guys are thinking, Katie, that looks nothing like the model because it doesn't curve yet. And I completely sympathize with you. So in order to get that curve, we're going to do exactly what we did with our teapot, which is just adding multi-cuts. So go to your multi-cut tool, hold Control, and middle click all over it. You probably can get away with like just 3. And then what you're going to do is select all of those guys, click Q, in vertex mode. Now the hard part about this is that they're not straight, so you can't exactly like click and drag. But what you can do is when you're in vertex mode, just select like one of them, so like that guy, and then hold shift and double click on the one right next to it and it'll select the whole line. So now when you select one of these lines, I'm going to be rotating them and then scaling them in to match the curvature and everything else just like a little bit more. All right. Let's do the same thing with these guys down here. If you find that this little navigator thing is getting in your way because it's too big or too small, you can press the plus or minus on your keyboard to make it smaller or bigger, just depending on kind of what you need. You can also zoom in and just select like that. Totally up to you. All right, so again, I'm just going to be rotating it, and then you'll scale it down. And then you can push it over as much as you need to. All right, and then this will be one of the last ones we do. All right, now if you want to go in and like add little details and such, totally feel free to do that. I'm gonna rotate this a little bit and then push it this way. Feel free to let this be clipped, that's totally fine. I do kind of think that I should add another multi-cut up here, so go ahead and do that, just because the lip is like a little bit bigger than the other guys. Probably like that. And then I'll select those guys. I'm going to push this over just a little bit. You can look at it in your perspective view to kind of see how it's turning out. Looks pretty good. I do think it's a little clunky right now. If you press 3, it looks a bit better. What we do need to do is bevel the edges on this guy. So just push it out of the way and then go into edge mode and then click on this top edge. Control B is beveling, do 2 segments. Make this one pretty tight, so pretty small fraction. And then I'll do the same with the bottom. That one can probably stay a pretty big fraction like that. And then next thing you can do is we're going to hollow it out. So go into face mode, click Q, select those faces and delete them. And then do the exact same thing with these guys down here. And then I'm going to go into object mode, Control or Command E, and then stick your thickness. I'm going to go out of the mesh, like 0.2 or something like that. That should probably be good. I think so. You press 3 to kind of see how it'll like hollow out. You can go into object mode, press W, and push that back to kind of connect with that guy. If you feel like when you extruded it, it got too big, you could just scale it down a bit using that center button. All right, so let's see how that's looking. I'm gonna go ahead and push this guy in just a smidge so that they clip. Make sure your subs are turned off for this object. Click both of them, so be in 1, right? Click 1 on your keyboard. Click both in object mode, click mesh combine so that it's all one mesh. And next thing we can go ahead and do is do mesh smooth. And then you can add as many divisions as you want to kind of make it as smooth as you would like it to be. I think 2 is probably pretty safe. Honestly, you could probably get away with 1. Totally up to you. I'm gonna go with 2 because I think it looks a little bit better. All right, looks good. I'm just going to add the lid in, so we should be good. Go ahead, create a new cylinder. Go into your front view, and then push this guy up using W, and then go into vertex mode, select those guys, click R, and then hold Control and scale on this axis. And then you can drag it down to become small. And then we'll go ahead and make our lid out of this, okay? So next thing we're gonna do is just what we've been doing this whole time of holding Control and adding multi-cuts. That should be enough. Click Q then and select those guys and click R, and then you can hold that top guy and then just basically scale all of them in until they fit the mesh as much as you would like. And then we'll go ahead and extrude the guy on the top in a second to get that little circle. But I do want to make sure that this has a cool little edge on the bottom. So go ahead and go into this view. You can just push it up. Select those faces, holding Q, holding tab. Extrude them in, maybe like 0.15 or something. And then I'm going to extrude again and push into the mesh like that. And then I'm going to extrude and offset it in again. And then extrude and push them into the mesh a little bit more. And that will kind of be our lid. Go ahead and select these faces on the top. Do extrude, offset. And then extrude again and up that thickness. let's go into this view, go into object mode, and push this guy back down so we can match with our reference. All right, looks good. Select these faces again. Extrude. And then up your thickness all the way to the top of that circle. Next thing you want to do is click R and scale it completely in because it's going to come to a small little point at the top. And then we're going to add some more multi-cuts to match that silhouette a little bit more. So just go ahead and do that. And then go to vertex mode and click Q and scale them as much as you need to. All right, if you press 3, you can see how it'll round out. I'll just go ahead and go through and bevel those edges. So go into edge mode. I'm gonna bevel this guy and this guy. So Control B, do 2 segments, and then make it really small as per usual. And then next thing I'm gonna do is just bevel these inside guys. So do 2 segments. I'm gonna leave it as a big fraction for that side. I'm noticing that if you see this little black line, it means that one of your edges are overlapping each other. So select that edge that's making it black and then just scale it in so that it's hidden inside that mesh. You can also bevel that edge, 2 segments, and you can bevel the other inside edge as well. All right, and then you could press 3 to see how it rounds out. Kind of good. I'm gonna add a bevel right here because I want it to look a little bit tighter. And then I'm gonna add one up here as well, just so it doesn't smooth out as much. All right. I'm thinking that that looks pretty good. You can go into object mode and then press W and press it down. If it's not quite like sitting in your teapot enough or looking like it's actually the cap, you can just scale it up. I think mine looks pretty successful. When I beveled, I got this kind of cool design on the top. Of course, if you don't want that, just make sure when you're beveling to not hit those edges as well. I kind of like how it looks because it adds a little more of like depth to your little guy. But of course you don't have to. But yeah, that's about it. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I'm not sure what we're making next. It's probably going to be something like a soy sauce bottle or something fun. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!